Hey, how y'all doing? Y'all welcome to my channel. I am Mr. MCL, and this is another episode of Let's Talk About It. And today we're going to talk about the dock workers and the port strike and how it's going to affect most of the people in your community, especially on the East Coast. You know, your goods, your toilet paper, how it's going to affect your pockets if this goes for a long time. Well, we're going to get right into it. I got some news clippings about it, and we're gonna hear what they got to say, so y'all can prepare yourselves.
I'm Anthony Antoine, joined by Tom Ziska. And Tom, we are talking about a huge topic that will impact every single person here in the country, this longshoreman strike, which is just hours away by all accounts.
It is. So this is the International Longshoremen's Association. They are at the end of a 6-year contract affecting Gulf Coast and East Coast ports. 36 locations, Port of Houston.
Gulf Coast and East Coast ports, 36 locations. That means if you got something coming from across seas, you're gonna be waiting for a while, because like from what I heard, as long as this goes, every day it goes is 5 days that it's gonna take us to catch up to whatever. But it could be more. Let's continue.
Houston among the top 10
Right.
in the country. And when they go on strike, and it's all likelihood that they will at the stroke of midnight tonight, all commerce will stop.
And
at all
when
of
we
those
say all
ports.
commerce, we mean furniture, food, like all of that is included here. And that, when we talk about inflation, that being an issue now, the longer this thing continues, we can have a serious problem on our hands.
So, and there's a big question how long it will last, and we'll get into that because there is a lot of speculation over, first of all, whether, yes, it will, and how long. 1 to 2 weeks probably is what I'm hearing, but these ports, these East and Gulf Coast ports, comprise more than half of the containerized, those shipping containers, that's what we're talking about, imports coming into the country.
Right. And we are talking about 36 facilities across 14 different ports here, East and Gulf Coast. That is a lot of freight and
From
commodity.
Brownsville, Texas to Maine.
Yeah, that is a lot
Yes.
of ground to cover. All right, so if you guys aren't familiar, if you haven't been paying attention or you're just kind of bringing yourself in the loop, let's give you a little bit of background here. So what are the sticking points for these two major sides? All right, first up, neither side has publicly spoken about the wages in particular, but it really comes down to wages and also automation. And I thought that was also an interesting part of the conversation as well.
Yeah, so the union, they want more money.
Right.
They've not had, their last contract had basically about $1 a year extra for 6 years annually. So over the course of their contract, $6 an hour.
Right.
The longshoreman says these companies are making billions of dollars. We want our cut. They asking for a lot, but it's just like when the train workers went on strike. They didn't let that happen. They didn't even let that happen. They got on that quick, because y'all don't understand the severity of if these dock workers strikes. Even truck drivers gonna feel it. You definitely gonna feel it. The feds just cut the rates a half a point to bring inflation down, to bring prices of goods down, to, you know what I'm saying, for everybody to relieve pressure. This is going to send it right back up. This is going to send it right back up, probably even higher. So don't think this is just a small thing.
The West Coast dock workers just settled a strike late last year. They got a significant pay bump, and the differential between the two is almost $20 an hour.
And that is huge.
It is.
If you're working on the East Coast and you see your colleagues on the West Coast making that much money, that obviously there will definitely be an issue there for
They
you.
are saying, pay me. Now, you note that neither side is saying exactly how much money they are asking for or offering. About 40% increases what the
40%? Boy, I'm doing the wrong thing. I need to get on the docks. Oh, man. 40%. But I ain't going to lie. With the money that these companies making, they deserve it. They deserve it. You know what I'm saying? They might not get the 40%. That's pretty goddamn high. But I think they're gonna end this strike quickly. I think, my opinion.
Maritime Alliance has offered roughly, and the dock workers want roughly $5 an hour for each of the 6 years.
All right, so that's what we're looking at here, $5 a year.
And then
ain't bad.
automation.
For 6 years, and then automation.
Yes.
Right.
Basically, robots controlling access into the port, robots unloading the containers, and the longshoremen say that's got to be humans, that's got to be job security. We can't let machines take over. They point to things like the auto industry, where robots are everywhere. And the argument they say at the time was that would reduce costs. They say
that's another thing. Moving into the future, like with automation, like robots doing things, like, man, I seen this robot hand commits. This robot did surgery on like a bird egg, a little bird egg. It cut the bird egg and stitched it back together perfectly without squeezing or squishing the egg. And it was like, y'all don't understand how these robots are going to be taking over stuff, jobs left and right. You know what I'm saying? Especially labor, all the way down to surgery. So that just lets you know what you need to go learn in college. You need to go learn that automation, something like that in that field.
Say no. When's the last time you paid less for a car?
Yeah.
That's what the longshoremen are saying right now.
And also, we've seen some of this conversation around when we talk about labor, even in the railroad industry. Some of this has also been some important conversations here. All right, so let's jump into some of the content we have here for you. We're going to start here with Fox's Brooke Taylor. So she's covering the strike here from Seabrook to give us some insight. Brooke?
Brooke, we can't hear you. We can't hear you, baby. Yeah, they finna cut Brooke. We can't hear what the fuck Brooke is talking about. See if we can move this a little further. Oh yeah, y'all gonna have to watch. Y'all gonna have to do the commercials with me. You know what I'm saying? Y'all are gonna have to do the commercials with me.
That's kind of a terminology that we didn't pay attention to, like prior to the pandemic, for example. Supply chain, whatever the heck is that?
We ain't rich here yet. You know what I'm saying? We ain't rich here yet. So I don't got the YouTube premium to skip all the commercials, you know what I'm saying? But we'll get there. But that's not even the point, man. This message is to put y'all up on game.
Now we all know, right?
Now we all know what it is. And, you know, when you're talking about the supply chain, too, one of the things that kind of jumped out at me when you talk about the numbers here, because one of the things the union is saying, like, hey, these shippers, they made billions of dollars in profits over the course of the pandemic here. So when you're making all of that money, they would like to see some of those dollars trickle down to the average worker. So it's definitely a point of contention here. In fact, they said between 2020 and 2023, the shipping rates soared during the pandemic to the tune of these companies making $400 billion.
Yes.
Damn.
They'd like to see a portion of that profit go back into the pockets of the people they say who did the work. Let's talk about supply chain. I want to turn to Margaret Kidd. She's from the University of Houston. She's a supply chain expert that I speak to frequently about a variety of topics. We're in an era of globalization.
Just kidding.
You know, everything goes everywhere from all over the world. So we depend on a lot of that stuff coming into the United States. We import a lot of stuff. Of course, we export stuff as well. She tells me that the ports, and I want to listen to this, are just essential to keeping the economy running. Take a listen.
In the world of globalization, ports play a critical role, with over 90% of cargo moved by water at some point. So ports, whether it's Port of Houston or Port of New York or Port of Savannah, they are economic engines for their local regions and for the country. Locally, I mean, just as an estimate, the port complex overall probably provides up to 1.5 million jobs. Damn. With port-related activities, so they're economic engines.
It also means some of y'all that getting that fake jewelry from China, you rappers, it's gonna be a hole. So you're gonna have to put that video on hold. all that jewelry y'all be pretending y'all getting, it's all sitting there.
At the end of the day, in addition to providing all the goods that we use as Americans, whether it's at the grocery store or at the mall or at the car dealership. It's interesting when you look at the West Coast, there's a history of work stoppages over time. I can say that on a Gulf Coast perspective, there's a very positive working relationship with labor. The last strike was in 1977, and while it lasted 45 days,
what I'm gonna get us something more. to continue to.
It's after midnight, and we are officially on strike.
The union has been threatening to go on strike for more than a year, so many retailers and manufacturers were prepared. They brought in holiday season goods early, or they've diverted their shipments to West Coast ports. The problem facing businesses right now is...
That's another thing. Christmas is coming. You know what I'm saying? So just because they bring in them goods, that means they're going to charge you more because they know they're not going to have a lot of backup. So you know how Black Friday goes, and it'll be like 5 TVs or so on for sale. Once that runs out, or they gets, it gets low, product gets low, it's going to be sky high. They're going to be charging you sky high from the beginning. So that's going to affect people in a major way of the economy getting moving, people buying gifts. So y'all need to go out there early. Do your shopping early.
That however much they brought in, it can only last for so long. There are estimates that a strike could cost the US economy between $3.8 billion and $4.5 billion a day.
3.8 to $4.5 billion a day. Every day that the dock workers are not working. Let that sink in. I don't blame them.
The dock workers say they want a 77% pay increase over the next 6 years. Money they say they are owed for working during the pandemic and helping some of the world's largest ocean shipping companies earn profits of tens of billions of dollars.
That's crazy. That is crazy. That's real crazy. And listen, it's gonna affect us badly. If this goes on a week or two, gas prices are gonna go up. Groceries are gonna go up. Everything, cars are gonna go back up. Man, y'all better keep an eye on it. To those people on the East Coast, we're gonna feel a little bit more. But this is your boy, Mr. MCL. This is Let's Talk About It. Y'all leave down in the comments what you feel, how you feel about us going on strike. And y'all need to go ahead and start hitting that grocery store. Until next time, we out of here.